Please join me in a pledge of allegiance, a moment of prayer or silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 8th, 2020?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve appropriations ordinance number 24?
I move we approve ordinance number 24.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll declare the public input session open for any items not on the agenda. Do you have anything online, Bo? Ask the bench if they have anything. Okay, I'll declare the public input session closed. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Call on Fred Bonneblust and whoever else. Habitat for Humanity. Yeah.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for letting us be here. My name is Fred Bonneblust. I'm on the board of McPherson Area Habitat for Humanity. And Mike Harold is with us today. He's a volunteer and on our board also. I just wanted to give you an update. I have good news. We were kind of shut down like everybody else for a couple months, primarily because we're all volunteer and a bunch of older volunteers, so we're tired of Zoom meetings by now, and it's time to get back to work. And the other thing is our family selection process requires we do home visits to people, so we put that on hold for a while. But and also the families that are selected for a Habitat house are required to work on the house. But anyway, we're back going. Our family selection process is about finished, so we'll have a family selected by July. And the other good news is we were concerned that our cash flow depends on our homeowners making their monthly payments. The good news is all of our families are working, even the ones that maybe lost a job. We're able to get other jobs that are even better than they had before. And our donor base is solid, so we are ready to get started, and probably family selection by the end of this month and start building in July. And we're probably going to build at the 403 South Oak property that you helped us with the grant last year to tear down the old house there. So I come this morning just bring you up to date and thank you for your support, and also ask that one of the ways you've helped us in the past and keep the costs down for the homeowner is by waiving the fees for the building permits. So I come before you asking if you would help us again with that, and also answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, I have a question. How many applicants do you have for the 403?
Active applicants, we have over a dozen.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we go through a full application process, go through credit issues and things, and verifications of it's like a regular real estate
Sure.
application.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually go out and do home visits and visit with them and everything, and try and narrow it down from there. It's really hard. We're all volunteer, and so there's a limit. We wish we could build more houses, but we're limited, and so we narrow it down to about 1 or 2 a year, and this year we'll build 1 right now.
Okay, good.
This will be about our 35th home that we've built in McPherson County since the mid-1990s.
Super. You guys do a great job. We appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to waive the permit fees for Habitat Humanity, which is what we do to try to help them keep the costs down?
I'll second that.
Okay. I guess I moved. Gary seconded.
Right.
Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you're in business, Fred.
Thank you.
You gotta get Mike out of his fishing boat though, so. yeah. All right, call on the fire department, Chief Weisman.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I have several items for you this morning. The fire department, first item, has a firehouse software annual contract with ESO Solutions. Needs to be renewed. ESO Firehouse is the fire department's records management system. It's utilized to track incident reports, hydrants, fleet maintenance, inspections, investigations, occupancies, inventories, and analytics. We request a motion to approve payment to ESO for the fire department records management system for annual contract for amount not to exceed $4,851.22.
Guess this will warm it up. I'll move to approve payment to ESO Solutions, Inc. for the fire department firehouse records management system annual contract for an amount not to exceed $4,851.22.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, we have, fire department requires members to keep status updates on callback personnel, out-of-service hydrants, out-of-service equipment, confined space standbys, and street closures. Our current software was created by a past employee and is no longer capable of updates. First Arriving LLC, through digital dashboards, will provide that service and streamline the placing the equipment out of service. Placing the equipment out of service, we request a motion to approve payment for First Arriving LLC for digital dashboard services for $3,487 for the first year and then $1,596 thereafter.
As we reviewed in study session last week, I'll move to approve the First Arriving LLC for fire department digital dashboard services for amount not to exceed $3,487.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, Williams Company has issued a second grant payment to the City of McPherson Fire Department. The grant was for $1,000, can be used for the support of COVID hazmat responder support. We request a motion to accept the grant from Williams Companies for $1,000.
I'll move to accept the second grant payment of $1,000 from the Williams Company for COVID-19 responder support for the hazmat team.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, Brittany Burgess submitted an application for the fire department summer intern position. This position will start June 29th and run through July 31st, 2020. Ms. Burgess will shadow crews and complete daily tasks that firefighters commonly achieve day to day. She will attend some calls, however, will not participate in mitigation of those incidents. We request a motion to approve hiring Brittany Burgess for the fire department summer intern position effective June 29th.
And we're eliminating that to $2,000,
$2,000,
correct? So
yep.
I'm gonna add that in the motion. I'll move to approve the hiring of Brittany Burgess for a position of fire department summer intern effective June 29, 2020, for wages not to exceed $2,000.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have a question on that. I thought we had a hiring freeze on. what do we do with that?
We talked about that in study session last week, and said we would bring this forward with $2,000 limitation.
That's where the $2,000 came in.
Yeah.
I just worry about how that'll affect the rest of the departments, but,
Yeah.
so I'll vote no on that.
Okay, that's fine. Passes 2-1.
Next item, we have an update on the 1928 American LaFrance fire truck project. The motor has been removed from the frame. This will allow for repairs to the motor and allow better access for sandblasting the frame. They are slowly removing the partition in the hose bed, which has been completed now. You guys can see that on the pictures. They will not be replacing the water tank on the truck. Instead, they'll be making additional room in the hose bed. We are starting a fundraiser selling challenge coins for the restoration efforts. We ordered 200 coins from Logo Tags. These coins will be sold at $15 each. And then photos are attached to that. We also request a motion to approve the Logo Tags at $605.40. and a payment to Tim Unruh in the amount of $900 in labor for restoration of the project.
And we have reimbursement coming from the donation funds.
That's all donation. We purchased that out of the donation account, yeah.
Okay, on this week's accounts payable, the logo tags were on there.
Should have been out of the expense side of the
Okay,
account.
all right, I'll double
On-
check. I'll
okay.
double
The donated money.
On the
It wasn't
donated-
the city, yeah.
Donated money
It wasn't
account.
city
All
money.
right.
Okay,
All right, I'll move to approve payment to logo tags for the purchase of challenge coins to be sold, with the proceeds going toward the 1928 American La France Fire Truck Restoration Project for an amount not to exceed $605.40 out of donation funds.
I'll double check that.
Okay,
I second that.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to move to approve the payment to Tim Unruh for labor on the 1928 American La France fire truck for an amount not to exceed $900 out of the donation funds.
I'd second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Call on Chief Golden.
Morning, Mayor, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
I have a presentation this morning that I'd like to go over that has to do with law enforcement and policies. Next slide, Bo. Sir Robert Peel in 1829 put out the principles of law enforcement. The ability of the police to perform their duties is dependent upon public approval of police existence, actions, behavior, and the ability of the police to secure and maintain public respect. The police should use physical force to the extent necessary to secure observance of the law or to restore order only when the exercise of persuasion, advice, and warning is found to be insufficient to achieve police objectives, and police should use only the minimum degree of physical force which is necessary on any particular occasion for achieving a police objective. The police at all times should maintain a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. The police are the only members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the intent of the community's welfare. This is from 1829, and it still holds true. Next slide. I just wanted to introduce you to our police department. This is currently our officers on Main Street here in McPherson. Next slide. Demographics of McPherson, got this online, 13,485 people. White or Caucasian is 94.21%. 2 or more races is 2.69%. Black or African American, 1.27%. Asian, 1.02%. Native American, 0.31%. There's a little more females than males. If you look at the police department of certified officers, white or Caucasian is 91%. Black or African American is 6%. Hispanic is 3%. We obviously have more males than females, but we do have 5 females out of our 34 sworn officers. Your police department should match your community. This is one thing that would help with getting along and understanding each other. As you can see, with our Black and African American, we surpassed that, and with our Hispanic, we also surpassed that. In our civilian staff, white or Caucasian, out of the 14 that we have, 36% are male, 64% are female, and they're all Caucasian. Next slide. Data proves that together there's 8 policies that can decrease police violence by 72%. When I saw this last week, I looked at our policies, and since February of 2009, we have these 8 policies. This is why we don't have the issues that are going on in other places. And I'd like to go through these policies with you. The first one goes over chokeholds. Oh, I'm sorry, next slide, Bo. So are chokeholds and or strangleholds allowed? Choking or strangling are not permitted unless there is life-threatening circumstances and only used as a last resort. This is if the officer, there's a gun drawn, pulled, in the middle of a fight and there's nothing he has left, he can go to a chokehold. He's saving his life. If you have a pen in your pocket, you can use that as a weapon. It's last ditch effort. That's it. There is a police restraint called the lateral vascular neck restraint, LVNR. It's a specialized defense training technique focused on the blood flow on the side of the neck, not airflow. What happened with Eric Gardner in New York is the police officer crossed his neck with his forearm on the bone, which was crushing his trachea. The LVNR, which none of my officers are certified in using, is when you get their trachea into the bend of your elbow and you're pushing on the carotid arteries. It stops the blood flow. If you are crushing the trachea, that is a chokehold, and that's what I'm talking about. We will not do that unless it's last-ditch effort to save your life.
You might say the reason that we shut the blood off is to
Incapacitate them.
incapacitate them and then deal with them, leave go and let
Yes.
them live.
Yes, it takes 8 to 12 seconds to cause incapacitation, at which point you would release. You don't maintain holding that. And you see this if you watch any MMA or UFC fighting, this is the hold that they do. Passes out, and then they go over there and they wake up and they're back in the fight, or hopefully in handcuffs on the way to jail. The next thing I would like to talk about is de-escalation. This is straight from our policy, de-escalation of force. The de-escalation of force is moving to a lesser force option on the use of force continuum. Officers shall de-escalate force at the earliest opportunity to do so safely. De-escalation of force does not mean the officer must drop his or her guard. If reasonable, an officer will provide force recipients with opportunities to reduce resistance. When an officer perceives a person is complying with the officer's lawful commands or actions, the officer shall respond by de-escalating the force the officer is using. So obviously if the person is listening and cooperating and calming down, ultimately that's our goal, is to get them relaxed. Understand that this is the position that we're in. You're going to go to jail, or talk them into the car, whatever we need to do. The biggest thing about de-escalation, it keeps us from going hands-on with people. We try to calm them down before we put handcuffs on them. The next one that's brought up is, are you required to give a warning before shooting? From our policy, before using a firearm, an officer shall self-identify and state the intent to shoot when feasible. In less than lethal situations, officers are taught to announce less lethal, beanbag, or taser before deploying a less than lethal round, to avoid any confusion with other officers holding lethal weapons, as well as with bystanders who might hear a sound and think that the person was just shot. Especially if we're using a less lethal shotgun, which we have in the back of our cars. They have green stocks or orange. It would look like it's a shotgun, but it's a less lethal round. This allows the suspect time to think about what is going to happen and come to their own decision as to the next step, use of force, the officers will take to resolve the issue. Warning shots are prohibited. The only one who are exempt are sniper and counter snipers. They have no duty to require a verbal warning. Sometimes from a distance it doesn't matter if they announce it or not. It's a tactic. The next one is to exhaust all other means before shooting. We still practice the procedure of the use of force continuum, but not necessarily the diagram, because it caused a lot of issues for officers. So they don't think they can go in that order. They don't think they can skip from 1 to 6. So the first thing is presence. The officers will show up on scene, their cars, lights and siren, uniform, identified as police, have a weapon. Here we are. If they don't listen, then we go to our verbal commands. We try to talk them down, tell them what we want them to do. 3 is empty hand. Try to get them into the handcuffs, and then we can get out of there. If they begin to fight, then we go to the hard control, which is your physical force of your arm restraints, and that's where usually the fighting is happening. We really don't like to get into that one because we have tools, which are number 5, the intermediate weapons. And that is our OC spray, our impact weapons, and our taser. This lessens the chance for an officer to get hurt and also resolves an issue pretty quick. And then finally, the last is less lethal. It's the last thing we ever want to do, that any officer ever wants to use, is lethal force using their firearm. As we just saw in Atlanta, 2 officers in a fight with a gentleman who took their taser, tased one of the officers. If he would have tased the other officer, this just took them out of the fight, at which time he could get a gun and shoot them. This is, I know there's a lot of debate on what happened there, and there's still more to come out of that investigation. So, the duty to intervene, this is from our policy. Each and every member of the department is charged with the responsibility to monitor and control the use of force during operations involving multiple officers. Supervisory and non-supervisory personnel alike will be held strictly accountable to intervene, halt, and report any use of force perceived to be excessive. As we saw with Mr. Floyd, if that was to happen in McPherson, every officer that was on scene that did not interject in that would be held accountable, just like those other 3 officers were in Minneapolis. So you will do the right thing and you will be involved. The next is shooting at a moving vehicle. An officer is not justified in discharging a firearm, either firing at or from a moving vehicle, unless the occupants of the vehicle represent an immediate threat to the life of the officer or others, and then it shall be done only as a last resort. This decision depends on articulation, seriousness of the crime, and the probability of others being seriously injured or killed if the occupants are not stopped immediately. In law enforcement, there's the unless comes up a lot. We can't say you will never, because there's going to be times that you will. But we are telling our officers you're not justified to do it just because you can. You have to articulate why. The next is just an example, a little bit of the force continuum. It was a triangle back in the day, but I just wanted you to see what I was talking about. Starts on the left and goes to the right. So the first thing is the officer's presence. He shows up, he's in uniform, stop doing whatever you're doing. Given the verbal commands is next. The empty hand submission, which is, grabbing their wrists and getting into cuffs. Number 4 would actually be getting physical with them because they're resisting. Number 5 is your intermediate weapons, which is your taser, which is the bottom picture. And then lethal force, which obviously they have a SWAT team used for that, but that can also happen in patrol in a split second. The next thing is require comprehensive reporting. In addition to a detailed standard offensive report, a McPherson Police Department use of force report will be completed whenever an officer takes an action which results in or is alleged to have resulted in the injury or death of another person, applies force through the use of lethal or less than lethal weapons, applies physical force which results in the injury of the person, or discharges a firearm for other than training or recreational purposes. The information report will also be completed when a suspect uses lethal, non-lethal, or uses force which results in an injury to an officer. With the McPherson Police Department, we have Axon body cams and WatchGuard video systems. The new ones are the REs. Officers are required to have their Axon body camera activated on all citizen interactions. These files are downloaded at the end of shift and cannot be deleted or edited. Officers' new in-car video systems automatically download to a server when they pull into the parking lot and cannot be edited or deleted by the officer. There's no hands-on those items. To become a McPherson police officer, you need to first fill out your application, complete a physical agility test, complete a written exam, 70% or higher on all parts, complete a thorough background investigation, pass a psychological exam, pass a physical exam, pass a polygraph. You have an interview with me, then you have 4 weeks of in-house training, 14 weeks at the police academy, 14 weeks of field training officer program where this is after the academy and they drive around for 14 weeks learning the procedure. Following that, every officer has an annual requirement of 40 hours of continued training to maintain their certification. All officers are required to complete fair and impartial policing and or racial and other bias-based policing every year. All officers are exposed to the taser and are tased. All officers are exposed to OC and are sprayed. All officers learn defensive tactics and its continuing training throughout their career. All officers learn de-escalation in the academy as well as when they are just on normal patrol duties. And all officers qualify with their weapons yearly at our C-Post shoot, but are also encouraged to go to the range monthly for our department shoot, so they're proficient with their weapon. Some of the training that covers under that 40 hours are listed here. I am not going to list all of them, but we also see that law enforcement is pulled very thin in their duties, as they are mental health professionals, they are medical professionals, they are therapists, and they do a wide variety of things. And I know there's a new push to revamp law enforcement, and I do encourage it, because I think some other professions need to step up a little more. Things that we do in the community. We do lunch with a cop at McPherson College, lunch with a cop at Central Christian, cupcakes with a cop, a lot of eating bad stuff. Games with first responders at the library, first responders night, back to school bash, football games, basketball games, bike rodeo, RA and RD training at the colleges, appreciation dinner at the high school. We attend as many community events as we can, the barbecue competition, concerts for a cause. We walk around businesses and speak with the business owners. We stop at all your children's lemonade stands. We throw football with the kids, play basketball with them, popcorn with a cop at the college football games. In our schools, we have a DARE and SRO officer. We have a second SRO officer trained. We go to groups and churches and businesses. We talk about active shooter and give them safety briefings. We teach at the schools on narcotics and gangs. We go through our banks and talk about their security. Same with churches. We teach smaller groups and high schoolers defensive tactics, especially for female students and their safety. We speak obviously at the high school, middle school, and elementary schools to these kids. We play pool with the seniors at the senior center. We have an honor and color guard, which we go down to Wichita and graduations and do presentations. We do security at the barn sale, all schools day events and parade. We're a part of the Veterans Day parade. We were at Summerfest and Burning Down Maine. The police department, we are the community, and we are out there with our community. Bo? And the next one. Just a couple examples of pictures I threw up there are from the senior center. First Responders Night Out, the Blue Santa program, where the officers raise money and buy gifts at Christmas time for kids in our community who otherwise wouldn't get a Christmas gift. We coffee with a cop, and then on the bottom right, we're visiting with students at Mac College from the Congo. Next one. We do the business walkthroughs, like I said, Special Olympics, All Schools Day, Blue Santa once again, and then the next one. And the most recent one is obviously the Black Lives Matter Unity Gathering on 6/6/2020. They wanted their voice to be heard. On the bottom right, I am standing in front of the stage, listening to every word said. On the right, I am walking in that parade. And the top left, the Assistant Chief, Todd Martins, is speaking to people from that. So to say that you need to be a part of your community, as Robert Peel said in 1829, we are doing that. And then the last slide. We are members of our community. We support and love our community. And we will always protect and serve our community, no matter their race, gender, age, sex, religion, or political affiliation. Always do what is right and not what is easy. Thank you.
Thank you. I had asked Michael to do this, and out of Black Lives Matter, those 8 policies were encouraged to be adopted. I just wanted to share with everybody that we've had these policies in place for 11 years. It's not like we're reacting to something out of the current situation, and we train on them diligently, and only the last resort items you heard are used. If they say these 8 can't wait, well, we didn't wait. We got them 11 years ago, and they also say in their that black and orange sheet on one of the original slides, that if we do these, communities will be 72% decrease in violence. We've been doing them. McPherson has been one of the safest cities in Kansas for the last decade, and we continue to do that. I'm a little bit disappointed that some people feel that they are not safe here, or that they're only fairly safe. If they understand everything that's going on, it ought to be one of the best places to live, best places to work, where we have jobs. And right now, our unemployment is up some, but way low compared to most of the state in the south central Kansas region. So we're doing everything we can. We will continue to train. We will refresh the training on these 8 things and other items that you saw in the sheet. And with all of that, and we have always taken over the last decade a very conservative stance in our budgeting, and we will continue to do that. And part of that conservative stance is to adequately fund the police department to do all the things that you saw this morning, and with no intention to defund. We will serve the community to our utmost through our various services, police department being one of them. Benjamin Rush, one of the founding fathers, says, if you do not have law, you will not have liberty. And I think he was right. We cannot afford anarchy or chaos, but we can be unified. We can have good relationships, and that's what we intend to do. So, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Now I got to get out of this. Anyway, pull the next thing up there while I play with this thing.
Public Works.
Public Works, Jeff Woodward.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The first item I have for your consideration is out of the street department. It's purchase of a land plane for the Bobcat skid steer. One of our attachments for the skid steer is a land plane. Land plane is used to level and fill alleys and subgrade. Our land plane is worn out and needs to be replaced. We received a quote from Bobcat of Salina in the amount of $1,849.84.
Jeff, I have a question on that. Can the road grader do the same thing?
Well, this is on a smaller scale, so somewhat does the same thing.
Okay.
And we could rent one of them, but you rent one of them and you end up with nothing. You end up paying rent and still don't have anything. So I would move that we approve the purchase of a 78-inch land plane for the skid steer from Bobcat Salina for an amount not to exceed $1,849.84.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Question. This is out of the equipment fund, correct?
Yes. The next item is out of the Plaza East Place construction projects, inspection, change order number 1 with Earls Engineering. On September 3rd, 2019, the commission approved $79,518.31 for the inspection services with Earls Engineering on the Plaza East Place Street construction project. The construction is now complete. The inspection services went over the estimated amount. An additional $9,641.15 is needed to cover the inspection services. Last week in study session, I had estimated that at $8,000 since we received the final invoice. The developer has agreed to cover the additional cost of the CID and revise the drawdown agreement. A revised drawdown agreement's in the works.
I move that we approve change order number 1, Earls Engineering, for the inspection of the Plaza East Place Street construction for an amount not to exceed $89,159.46, which is an increase of $9,641.15 from the approval on September 3, 2019 for $79,518.31, and authorize the mayor to sign the change order.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, change order number 1 with Kansas Paving on the Chestnut Street Improvement Project. During the installation of the storm sewer on the Chestnut Street Improvement Project, we found the residential laterals to be in conflict. We received an estimated cost of $79,131.20 from Kansas Paving to complete the work. The attached change order number 1 shows an increased cost to the project of $57,112.21. After taking into account the underrun of the 30-inch storm pipe that had to be replaced with the 38 by 24-inch elliptical pipe. I've asked the designer to cover the additional cost to the city that amounted to $2,847.05. These are additional costs over if the error would not have occurred in the design. These costs are restocking cost of the 30-inch pipe, loading and unloading of the return pipe, half the cost to modify the inlet. Had the error not occurred, the inlet may have been more expensive, but now we have to field modify it, so I thought 50% was fair in that, and half of the cost of the exploratory digging. If we would have went out during the design process and got hard shots on the laterals, we could have done that in-house in our own time frame, but not finding this conflict until the construction was underway, we were under the gun and had to ask the contractor to do it. The designer has asked that we accept a credit on the inspection cost rather than issuing the city a check. The same engineering firm that did the design is doing the inspection. The finance director has agreed to the credit. At the completion of the work, the payment amount will be adjusted by the unit prices on this change order.
I know it sounds like a kind of a mixed up deal there, but it's something that is not, you can't get around that. You either fix it right or you don't fix it at all, and not to fix it is not something that we did or we're going to do on this project. So I move that we approve change order number 1 with Kansas Paving on the Chestnut Street Improvement Project to relocate sewer laterals that are in conflict with the storm sewer for a cost not to exceed $57,112.21, and authorize the mayor to sign the change order.
I'll second it.
I have a question on the 30-inch elliptical pipe. I looked at that on the weekend on what's been done so far, and maybe I didn't get a good look and part of it's covered up, but it doesn't look like it's hardly below the ground. And
It's not.
It's around a foot below the ground.
wow, it's
A
pretty
foot should be adequate to support vegetation on top of it.
Yeah, I just worrying about somebody going up over the curb and crushing the top of the pipe, but so it is shallow.
It is shallow, yeah.
All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Finally, I'd like to give you an update on the construction projects we have ongoing at this time. First is the Grimes Anna Street Reconstruction Project. Grimes Street pavement, Loomis to Hulse, was completed last week. The street should be open later this week. Permanent seating was finished on the west side of Grimes, first to Loomis, and work continued on the sidewalk along Grimes to Loomis. That's nearly complete. I'd like to remind everyone that Grimes Street is still completely closed from Loomis to Hulse, and Hulse Street is closed to through traffic, Grimes to North High Drive. Next is an update on the Hardup Elizabeth Street reconstruction project. Hardup Street, Hancock, 350 feet south. Pavement was sealed and open to the adjacent properties. The contractor will start removals of the next 350-foot section today, or scheduled to start today. Elizabeth Street, Hardup to Park, work continued on the installation of the rock base. A conflict was found with the AT&T line going to the school. The rock base is on hold until the line is relocated. And I think late Friday we actually come to a resolution on that. Hardup Street, Avenue A to Hancock is closed to through traffic with local access from Avenue A and sides. And now the first 350-foot section from Hancock as well. Through traffic on Hardup is detoured onto Park Street. Elizabeth Hardup to Park is completely closed. Next, an update on the Hulse area drainage project. Removal of box culvert on First Street has started. Backfill of the Crescent box work started, and work continued on the Wheeler box. Hull Street is still closed to through traffic, Grimes to North High Drive. Crescent Lane and Wheeler Street, both Hulse to Normandy, are completely closed. First Street is closed between the high school and North High Drive. Traffic will be detoured on Maxwell, Kansas Avenue, and Main Street. Next, an update on the Chestnut Street improvement project. Work continued on the storm, sewer, and relocation of sewer laterals. The street will remain open through construction when possible, but street parking will be very limited. There will be times when streets will be closed, but residents will be able to access their properties from one end of the block or the other. And finally, I'd like to remind everyone that weekly construction updates, road closures and detours, and planned road closures and planned detours are available on the city's website at www.mcpcity.com. That's all I have unless there are any questions.
Good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, call on Nick Gregory, Administrative Report.
As part of our efforts to issue a general obligation bond in 2020, the city of McPherson will need to receive a bond rating. The city of McPherson plans to engage S&P Global Ratings to perform this rating. A rating call will happen at the end of June, and a rating will follow shortly after the call that we have, and we'll also prepare a number of questions to answer for them as well. The attached engagement agreement authorizes McPherson to utilize S&P Global Services. The cost for that rating is $15,675 plus all applicable value
Anyway,
added.
whatever
There
it
you
is, go on.
Safe use and similar taxes. And generally we have not had other costs. They don't travel out. We do all that via conference call as well. So the associated cost of the rating is also figured into the cost of issuance associated with the bond. So all that's figured into the savings we expect to have by either through refinancing and then also will be shifted over any of the new funds that will be bonded as well. The Commission should authorize myself to engage S&P Global Ratings for the rating service, and it's simply an electronic approval to engage S&P as part of that.
I'd make the motion to authorize the city administrator to engage S&P Global Ratings for credit rating services associated with the 2020 general obligation bond for an amount not to exceed $15,675 plus any and all applicable value-added sale, use, and similar taxes.
I second it.
Okay, it's very applicable to have a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. From now on, you only have tomato juice or orange juice, nothing added to it for breakfast.
The McPherson City Commission will be holding a budget work session on Wednesday, June 17th. That's this Wednesday, beginning at 10 a.m. Until a time to be determined. Anticipate that to take several hours. Here in the City Commission chamber at the Municipal Center here at 400 East Kansas. This will be a 2021 budget progress meeting. This is considered a public meeting and it's open for anybody that wishes to attend. This won't be necessarily our last budget meeting, but we'll continue to work towards our goal of having a 2021 budget adopted. There's no action necessary, more of an informational item to let you know. The next item, the City Wellness Committee met several weeks ago to discuss modifications to the wellness program. for 2020 due to some limitations related to COVID-19. Staff recommends that the modified wellness policy for 2020 be adopted as presented, and we went over those changes during study session last week.
I move that we adopt the City of McPherson Employee Modified Wellness Policy for 2020 program year as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There's one wage for your consideration. That's Brittany Burgess, summer intern at $9.50 per hour, effective June 29th, 2020.
I move that we accept the wage.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have, click on it. We have one enhanced cereal malt beverage license for your consideration. That's Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2281 at 1331 North Main, for sale in original and unopened container and no consumption on premises.
I move that we approve the enhanced CMB license.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there's two CD investments for your consideration. They're both with First Bank Kansas at $500,000 apiece. They're 6-month CDs at 0.18%, maturing on December 10th, 2020, and also December 11th, 2020.
I'll make the motion to approve the investments.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to move to recess the city commission meeting for the study sessions.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are now back in the city commission, and the first item that we're going to talk about is COVID-19, and we will talk about the city water park.
Thank you. On Monday, June the 8th, City Commission approved the opening of McPherson Water Park. Staff is requesting clarification on the number of swimmers per session and a timeline for each phase. Staff is requesting the following schedule be adopted by the governing body. This schedule is subject to decline or increase, depends on COVID-19 cases in McPherson County. In the event that 3 weeks passes with no new cases, the restrictions on attendance would be lifted. In the event of an increased case numbers, the governing body reserves the right to extend limitations periods for future limited attendance numbers. So on your list there you have, we're starting off with 120, and then it would go to 150, 180, 210, 250, and 300. The numbers above set limitations on the number of swimmers. Patrons will be allowed to enter on a first-come, first-served basis until capacity is reached. In the event that individuals leave the facility, patrons will be granted entrance to the park on a one-in and one-out basis. Session 1 goes from 1 to 4 p.m. The facility will be emptied for a thorough cleaning, and session number 2 will begin at 4:40. The entrance numbers in session number 2 will be limited to the same number as session number 1. Session number 1 participants will have to get back in line if they plan to attend the second session. Private pool parties and shelter rentals will be permitted based on the number of swimmers during each phase, allowed based on the total number of swimmers permitted. For example, in private parties for June 22nd through June 28th, we would limit it to 120 guests. Staff recommends no changes in the water park fees. Season passes holders should be aware that the water park season has been shortened, and daily entrance into the water park is on a first-come, first-served basis, regardless of having a season pass. Patrons are encouraged to buy punch passes. There will be no line holds, saving spots, or cutting will not be permitted.
Then there's three, I have three motions up there for you guys to consider.
Where's it at? I can't see it.
Under recommended.
Right there, under your recommended actions.
Okay. Why won't you come up? Come on. Okay. I got it. Finally came up. All right.
So I'll make the motion to approve the number of patrons scheduled for the McPherson Water Park as presented or modified by the governing body.
I second it.
Any discussion? My concern, as it was last week, is how well we can do this with 2 people in 20 minutes. I'm still concerned about it, and so if you want to go up to that, I think these are huge numbers, and to have 250, 300 people per session is a lot of people and a lot of cleaning. But with that, are you all, both of you ready for a vote?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Vote no. Passes 2-1.
I'll make the motion to approve the McPherson Water Park fees as originally established.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll make the motion to approve private pool and shelter rentals based on the number of swimmers as presented or modified by the governing body.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay. What else do we have?
You got a question?
Okay, come on down, Janetta.
I have a couple things. I guess the first one is related to the cleaning and sanitizing being done at the water park. As the commission knows, any COVID-related activity is currently being recorded on our 214 forms and submitted on a weekly basis. Those forms are then input into an Excel spreadsheet where we're keeping track of costs, not only related to labor, but also in relation to materials purchased and supplies purchased. I guess my question that I have, since these aren't directly employees of the city, are we going to include them on our reimbursement application to FEMA, or is MRC keeping track and applying, or is this something you want me to look into? It's up for discussion. I don't know that I've heard of whether they're gonna keep track of that, or we need to instruct them to keep track of it. And
I would suggest we would need to keep track of that, because
Right.
if we can be reimbursed for that, one, we should absolutely keep track of materials and
So
Kyle has been informed that he has to keep track of that.
So he knows how to fill out the 214
But
and
he's
keep.
gonna learn how to fill it.
Okay.
But we're supplying the materials, yeah, so we're gonna keep track of it.
Okay. So materials and labor.
But do they need to know that they need to keep track of those supplies
Receipts
as part of ours?
We're going to keep track of it. Who is the we are going to keep track of it? Who's we?
So this is the bio response guy, so he would be, it would be under his 214, we track.
Okay?
Okay.
The other thing, just to give everybody an update of where we're at on cost. There's a spreadsheet.
Too much sheet.
Too many sheets?
Yep, I got an extra here.
Is there an extra?
No,
So,
As you've seen before, this is just an update, adding the week of or the ops period time of May 4th through the 17th, that's been reconciled by Chris and myself. That ops period total labor cost was $5,824.97, bringing our grand total cost of COVID-related activities and materials to $57,926.71. Any questions, comments?
No, my only comment is that depending on the money that's being, $1.25 billion being sent to all the counties by the state, and we're getting, our county will get $194 per capita, and then they have to distribute it. But whatever money we get from that, I'd like for us to consider the lowest reimbursement from FEMA, if we can get 100% of it taken care of with any money that we get there, and then put the rest of it on into FEMA, we will get the biggest bang for the buck. So that's just a suggestion as we go forward, and we see. It may be some time before we find out how much money we get, if we get anything, because that money has to go to fire districts, water districts, cities, everything else. So it's a long, drawn-out deal that the county has 100% control. But we hope we get something out of it. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I know FEMA's still, from what I understand, still defining what they're gonna reimburse and at what rate and what
Right,
percent.
but this would be a guarantee outside of FEMA, and then we
Yeah.
only do
Yeah.
the remainder with FEMA.
Yeah, FEMA was like, use us as a very last resort.
Right, yeah,
Thank you.
but we're gonna do that if we can. Okay, I would like to have the item that we said we would bring forward from the study session this week to ratify. I would like to move that we ratify the All City Management Service Crossing Guard contract cancellation.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anything else you want? Okay. Is there anything else that has to be done this morning? Okay, I will move that we adjourn the city commission meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.